enterprise adoption that paves the way for retail adoption is, I think, what looks like what's going to happen, at least based on, the past 2 years. So I think the new 10-year vision is enterprise products like stablecoins, like real-world asset tokenization, like, commercial lending and real estate lending, but that enable DeFi ecosystems that have things like ways to get yield, ways to manage your money, ways to hold the assets that you want to hold.
Today, internet culture and popular culture are the same thing, right? There is no distinction between internet culture and popular culture. We're starting to see that happen with blockchain right now. We're starting to see that turn. Stablecoins, institutional projects that are enabling DeFi ecosystems on the blockchain, we're starting to see that path to mass adoption really happen.
Welcome to the DeFi Standard, and this is Mickey B. Fresh. Ripple has laid out its roadmap for institutional DeFi on the XRP Ledger over the past month, and it came to a head at last week's Apex Summit in New Amsterdam, Netherlands.
And this is the next statistic is, I think, the most important one. Remember, I was talking about bleeding over into popular culture. What about people outside the space? 97% of institutional investors believe that tokenization is going to significantly affect asset management. These are people who they're not Bitcoin people, they're not crypto people, they're not blockchain people, they're not DeFi people, they're institutional investors. These are some of the most conservative people in the world, right? And they think that the technologies that we're building are going to revolutionize their industry. That is that bleed over into popular culture. It just makes sense to get into these spaces. If DeFi spaces and tokenized spaces are where the investors are going to be or where the money is going to be, that's got to be where the assets are, right? The assets are going to chase the money.
The financial landscape is rapidly evolving, and decentralized finance, DeFi, is at the forefront of this transformation as institutions look to harness the power of DeFi markets, practices, and protocols. They require a robust, secure, and efficient platform that can meet their complex needs as the blockchain built for business. The XRP Ledger is uniquely positioned to serve as the foundation for institutional DeFi. Ripple's vision and roadmap for institutional DeFi on the XRPL is to provide the foundational building blocks and fundamental components of a successful financial system. Let me just repeat that last line. A successful financial system. So issuance, value transfer, exchange, and credit, while ensuring security and regulatory compliance at its core. This vision is realized through the current and forthcoming key innovations at the protocol level.
We have to build the technologies that are the things that the market wants, right? We have to build a product that fits the market demands. And this is the key thing. We want enterprise projects that are compliant, but that bring customers into blockchains, right? If enterprises use the XRP Ledger just for payments, that's great. That's not a bad thing. But that's not going to bring their customers onto the XRP Ledger. If they use the XRP Ledger to launch tokenized loans, that's going to bring the people who are going to fund those loans and who want a return onto the ledger. That's the difference in the sort of institutional DeFi type of adoption and the traditional institutional adoption that we've seen. We really see that with stablecoins, right? A stablecoin is probably one of the most regulated products in the crypto space. If you look at companies like Circle, Tether, the forthcoming Ripple stablecoin, these are going to be heavily regulated products, right? Most of us will never be able to get a stablecoin directly from its issuer or redeem a stablecoin with its issuer. But there are millions of people who can hold USDT, hold USDC, hold the forthcoming Ripple stablecoin, who knows what jurisdiction they'll be in real DeFi ecosystems. That's the difference.
In the past few weeks, really over the past year, but in the past few weeks, RippleX, and specifically David Schwartz, in numerous interviews, has highlighted the details of their vision and roadmap. This is not just RippleX, this is all of Ripple.
But if we can build those four things, we can have the foundation for an institutional-grade blockchain with the XRP Ledger leading in these institutional DeFi applications where regulated products can enable true DeFi ecosystems. We don't want to launch a regulated product on a public blockchain as an island that doesn't connect. There's no reason to do that.
I think it's going to be what the token holders can do on the back end that's going to make it so exciting. If there's no difference between launching on a public blockchain and launching on a private blockchain, that all that happens is that the same people, hold the asset, it's just they hold tokens instead, and they get the same returns and do the same things with it, that's not exciting. There's just no reason to do that. But if there's something that you can do on the other side with the token that you couldn't do without it, if you can use it as collateral for a loan, if you can rehypothecate it so that people can have fractional ownership who wouldn't be able to hold the underlying security because it's not available in their jurisdiction or they can't meet the KYC AML requirements. It's obvious why Circle doesn't launch USDC on a private ledger.
Yeah.
It would be completely useless, right? It's the DeFi ecosystem that it enables. It's being able to use it as collateral for loans. It's being able to get a return on it, additional return. If we can enable those types of ecosystems, then it will be very compelling. And the thing that's the most different about those institutional use cases versus, let's say, enterprise payments, if an enterprise uses XRP for payments, their customers aren't blockchain users. But these applications and these DeFi applications, the customers, the people who hold the tokens, they're DeFi users, they're blockchain users. And that's, I think, that path to mass adoption.
And this is kind of at the heart of the institutional DeFi roadmap. And the reason being is that it includes both enterprises and their customers and retail and anyone on the back end that's able to provide the assets that are being lent in a decentralized, non-custodial manner. And that is the biggest takeaway that everyone should get from this roadmap, is that this doesn't mean retail's not included and it says institution only. It means the exact opposite. It means that you now have new opportunities to participate in low-risk ways on how to earn yield on XRP, stablecoins, and other assets that are issued on-chain. So what did they say there? They said creating a new financial system, meaning that this is a new capital market. It's going to have issuance, exchanging of value, all of that.
I think the undeniable piece of proof is stablecoins like USDC and Tether. They are as institutional a thing as you can possibly get, and yet they are what's fueling these completely decentralized economies. I think you can't deny right now that the institutional adoption is going to enable grassroots adoption and vice versa. I think the thing that we were too early on is when we were trying to bring institutions on for their payments, they weren't going to bring their customers to blockchains, right? Like if your bank is using, let's say they're using Ripple's payment technology and they're using blockchains and they're using XRP in payments. You as a customer, it's invisible to you. They're not going to bring you into the blockchain space. Yeah. What's exciting about this second wave of sort of institutional adoption is that they're either bringing their customers directly onto the blockchain or they're enabling people to do things on the blockchain.
Sure.
I think you have to accept that, like, if there's going to be mass adoption, it's going to be these sort of hand in hand.
Yeah.
The thing that I think people were skeptical about, that I think now the evidence is undeniable, is that wouldn't mean that everything would have to be regulated. I think the thing that people didn't realize is that, like, you can have a stable coin or a loan portfolio or a tokenized security that's completely thoroughly regulated. They do KYC, AML on every single customer. And yet on the back end, there's tokens that represent ownership interest or collateralization against that are completely decentralized.
So,
that's like, we see that now.
So Ripple's vision is to have DeFi applications on decentralized, censorship-resistant blockchains like the XRP Ledger that also can have institutional participants that can meet their regulatory requirements and have meaningful interoperability between those two ecosystems. So the most obvious example of that is the stablecoin that we announced. A stablecoin is regulatory compliant. It's issued to customers of Ripple who go through KYC and AML proceedings, but then it winds up like on automated market makers, or people wind up holding it who are not customers of Ripple or connected to Ripple in any way. And it enables a sort of decentralized DeFi ecosystem that ties back to that regulatory compliant world. We see that happening with real world asset tokenization. We see that happening with on-chain lending. All of these applications where both institutions and sort of grassroots adoption can grow together. And the reason I think that that's so important is if you look at how compelling ecosystems grow, it's that synergy between grassroots adoption and enterprise adoption. That's what fired the development of the internet. We need real institutional adoption institutional adoption. So for example, like Ripple has institutional adoption in the sense that we have customers that are using like XRP for payments. We have customers that are using stablecoins for payments, but that doesn't bring their customers onto the blockchain. So while that's good, that doesn't really turbocharge mass adoption the way things like tokenized real world assets could. If there's tokenized real world assets, if there's lending, let's say there's TradFi lending, and you're like, you know what? I have this money that I don't have a good way to invest. I need to get on the blockchain as a blockchain user so I can lend, right? You're now a blockchain user. That's what, if we're going to get mass adoption, what we need is institutions that are bringing their customers into blockchains, right? You're now a blockchain user, right? You're now a blockchain user. That's what, if we're going to get mass adoption, what we need is institutions that are bringing their customers into blockchains. That's like the way that you're going to get mass, right? Amazon brings their customers into the internet. You want to be an Amazon customer? You're an internet user. Yep. You want to be a Twitter customer? You're an internet user. You want to be, if you want to use anything on the internet, you have to become an internet user. And now you're everybody's target market. These use cases, these use cases that I've been talking about that bring the customers onto the blockchain are what I think could turn that corner to a realistic path to real like mass adoption. And it's exciting to me that I think like just in the past year or so, we've really started to see HSBC, for example, talking about tokenized gold. And not just as a like, wouldn't it be cool if, wasn't this something like they're committed to that as a product. It's very hard for small companies to go through regulatory hoops. But the nice thing about these approaches is like, yeah, it's a heavy lift to launch a stablecoin, but Ripple does it and everybody can use it. Yeah, it's a heavy lift to do real world asset tokenization for financial products, but somebody does it and then everybody can use it. That's exciting. And so I'm very hopeful, more than usual, that we're going to see that acceleration to the mass adoption I think we all want.
So the XRP Ledger, unlike many smart contract networks, has the ability to embed these native protocols instead of smart contract dApps. These are basically built-in smart contracts that are voted in by the validators and proposed by different members of the community. Say it be Ripple, say it be some other entity, and these include the Automated Market Maker Amendment, which is live, the Decentralized Identifier, DIDs, which is undergoing voting, oracles, which allow for the XRP Ledger to accept different oracle systems to integrate with the XRP Ledger. In itself is not an oracle solution like the FTSO. It means it could integrate the FTSO system, for example, or Band or Chainlink or whoever it is. And that's coming in Q2. Multi-purpose tokens, Q3 release. That's a powerful one because that allows for some unique tokens that could be semi-non-fungible, and they have different metadata included in them that's necessary for like issuances of certain sovereign bonds and other financial assets and products that already exist, and new financial products that will exist in the future. And then we have the XRPL's native lending protocol. So this is the first lending specification that has been proposed. So what did they say there? They said creating a new financial system, meaning that this is a new capital market. It's going to have issuance, exchanging of value, all of that. So I think that's something that hasn't really been understood. It's like people have thought they own this asset, it goes up like a stock in price, and I ride off in my Lambo because institutions bought my token out. That's not how it's going to be. Yes, they will go up in value, but the way they're valued will be different as it evolves. Because, why? They have native protocols and they have an underlying network that has an ecosystem. But those native protocols utilize the native asset or enhance the use of that native asset, which is the reserve asset of the network. It's not a currency, it's not a security, it's not a commodity, it's a polymorphic asset, meaning it has attributes and features of a startup, currency, security, a commodity, a dividend-paying stock, all these other types of things. It's not one. And like David Schwartz said, we are still early. We've seen 1% of the use cases possible for XRP because it needs an ecosystem. And the institutional adoption that we have seen so far has not impacted XRP price. And there's a reason why, because it's not on chain. This type of institutional adoption is on chain. So building on top of the battle-tested XRP Ledger, which has unique differentiators as its native protocol functionalities, which include built-in features that support DeFi activities, and the design allows for the liquidity from DeFi applications to aggregate at the protocol level rather than compete in silos, which enhances capital efficiency and overall institutional appeal. And that's where the super DEX comes into play.
But the most interesting thing I think about the XRP Ledger's automated market maker is how it integrates with the other functions on the XRP Ledger into what we've been calling
the super DEX.
Ability is the XRP Ledger as a trading hub across blockchains with the DEX, the payment engine, pathfinding, the various different XRP Ledger features that enable the movement of assets. In fact, one of the very first applications on the XRP Ledger in the very, very early days was as a way to move Bitcoin faster and cheaper.
And just to give some context and background on what institutions are looking for, when BlackRock's head of partnerships was asked what are they talking with their clients about, he said 3 things: tokenization, stablecoins, and decentralized finance.
And Joseph Shalom, BlackRock, Head of Strategic Partnerships.
We're spending most of our time speaking to our clients about 3 topics. One is just all things tokenization, not what it means in the short term, but what is the promise and potential in the long term, and how does it affect their business. Second is how can responsible, well-reserved stablecoins play a role, not just in the movement of money, but breaking down friction in institutional money movements, not the retail space, not necessarily Web3. What are the pragmatic, practical applications that there could be in this space? And third, a lot of questions about DeFi. What is DeFi? If, when the regulatory hurdles are overcome, how will that be something that affects their business? And there's lots of false narratives, DeFi versus CeFi, and I think we can get into that. But I think as important as the potential changes on their business, we're spending an equal amount of time understanding the short-term blockers. And each and every one of these has regulatory, technology, maturity blockers, and how can we play a role with our clients in finding ways to unblock to the benefit of our clients. Where we're not spending a lot of time is in random POCs, because our strong belief is if it's not in production, if it's not in the client's hands, that's not innovation, that's experimentation.
That's a good line.
That is BlackRock, the largest asset manager in the world. So you see why Ripple has pivoted focus to issuing a enterprise stablecoin, institutional DeFi, and creating an ecosystem on Ledger, as well as tokenization of real-world assets, with the announcement this past week with ArchX to issue hundreds of millions of dollars of real-world tokenized assets, including BlackRock's fund, onto the XRP Ledger.
Announcement was ArchX, which is going to bring probably, at least $100 million in tokenized real-world assets to the XRP ledgers, enterprise-grade tokenized securities, which are, that's another one of those enablers for enterprise DeFi, with being able to use them as collateral and rehypothecate and those kinds of things. That's what builds DeFi ecosystems.
To me, it feels like the puck is headed towards, deploying tokenization on public or integrating with public blockchains as opposed to private blockchains. And I feel that's something that's really evolved. And the sort of watershed moment was with BlackRock and Biddle launching on Ethereum. Would you agree in your conversation this is kind of like, the direction of travel?
Yeah, I think it's the direction for sure. It wasn't 4 or 5 years ago, a lot of people were, using Corda or private chains, and we still see a lot of subnets or permissioned chains. But generally speaking, I think everyone kind of thinks of it broadly as the internet beats intranet. So, you're more available to everyone if you're on a public network. That's kind of the idea. So you still need to have AML KYC done. We use whitelists in most of our securities because it's easier. But you can see that being solved in the future with digital IDs and the like. But they're all talking about public chains.
This integration is the start of real-world asset tokenization, which is a key component of institutional DeFi. And institutional DeFi on the XRPL represents a significant leap forward by bridging the gap between TradFi and blockchain. The XRPL provides a seamless platform for institutions to engage in DeFi activities while maintaining compliance and security. And the key here is that retail is able to gain a significant amount of more opportunities on the back end, because DeFi means decentralized finance, means that anyone can hold the Ripple stablecoin and use it in an AMM pool and use it in a lending protocol. So this merging doesn't mean that everything gets regulated on the blockchain. And that's something David Schwartz pointed out, that this institutional adoption is going to have a more significant impact than maybe the institutional adoption that you thought of in the past, where institutions adopt XRP for payments or as a bridge currency or on RippleNet. That never was going to impact the price because it wasn't on Ledger. This was always the intentions. But DeFi has completely and utterly upended what people thought 3, 4, 5 years ago. So it's new to everybody. And now the convergence with tokenization, which Larry Fink says is underhyped, and it's the CEO of BlackRock. This is all coming to a head, and decentralized finance on public blockchains, it's a race of what platform can provide the unique capabilities to develop an ecosystem. If you don't have an ecosystem, you don't have demand for the native asset. And everyone who's here, yes, you want the price of your asset to go up. But the reality is you're involved in something more. If you like it or not, believe fairy tale stories or not, you're involved in something more. And the community is going through a transformation. It's a slow transformation. Could be much faster if, we had a little more education on the influencer side. But Ripple's upcoming enterprise-grade USD stablecoin is set to revolutionize the stablecoin market. And this stablecoin, along with other tokenized fiat currencies, will be launched on the XRP Ledger and its EVM-compatible sidechain, providing a stable, reliable medium of exchange that can be utilized across various DeFi applications, including institutional DeFi, payments, many use cases. XRP has only seen maybe 1% of its potential use cases, so it's impossible for stablecoin to cannibalize XRP, as David Schwartz was quoted saying, because XRP, you want its value to go up, right? Well, what does the value go up in? Dollars. It needs liquidity on chain in dollars. So therefore, it's paired with XRP and USD.
But again, the big thing, I think one of the things probably motivating this is the launch of the stablecoin with the idea that one will cannibalize the other. I just want to make a point that the current use for XRP is a tiny fraction of the things that people could be using it for. The market is so early, and we can't. It's impossible for us to cannibalize ourselves. It's if an ecosystem is 1% of what it should be, trying to fight over that 1%, that's not what's going to happen, right? We want to we want to grow the pie, and I think there's lots of room for XRP to grow, and there's lots of room for a stablecoin to grow and to be used, in different use cases. There are some use cases where volatility is absolutely fine, and of course, in some use cases like the AMM, where volatility is actually a plus.
What do you think it's going to take for that linkage between real world and DeFi to finally start to happen in a meaningful way? So that's a great question, and basically, this idea is a new idea. So the way I look at it is that this is an extraordinary situation where this is like a once in a generation type of situation where you've got something that's strongly disruptive and you're at the beginning. And don't judge the size of the disruption by the size of the current market. By construction, if you're just at the 1% point of the disruption, it's going to be small by definition. And what you need to do as an investor, especially, is to think, this DeFi space is small, so it's nothing. It's going nowhere. No, that's a myth. That's the wrong way to look at it. You say, yes, it's small now, but the vector is very steep and positive, and it could be really important in the future. Yes, there are risks, and there's going to be more risks realized in the future, but with any new idea, there's risk. Okay, if you don't want risk, invest in treasury bills. So again, this is a situation that to me is very exciting because it deals with my expertise in finance and completely changing the rule book, completely not renovating our financial system, but potentially rebuilding it from the bottom up.
And there's also the regulatory aspect. There's this false assumption that XRP is going to be used and paired to every regulated asset. No. Monica Long did not say that. There's a lot of misinformation out there. It's important to separate it when you don't see validating evidence in just one quote taken out of context. Question everything and confirm with your own, do your own research, because there is a lot of that specifically in this community from many influencers. So that is just a heads up, including myself. Verify all the information always. So the integration with the XRPL AMM by the Ripple stablecoin, which is called RLUSD or Real USD, the integration into the XRPL AMM's pools is expected to significantly enhance liquidity and facilitate efficient cross-border transactions. This stablecoin will enable seamless value transfer within RippleNet, enhancing the on-demand liquidity ODL service, which is pivotal for minimizing liquidity cost and improving transaction speeds across international borders. But what it also does is it increases the volume of ODL on RippleNet. And why is that important for us? Because that is going to be routed through the XRP Ledger. We need tokenized fiat to do that. XRP does not pair with regular fiat USD. That's an account-based system. It's not on-chain. They don't interoperate. When you bring tokenized fiat on-chain, they could pair in a liquidity pool. They could pair on the order book. That's immediate atomic settlement. That's why it's important to have on-chain tokenized fiat. And USD is going to be XRP pool, one of the biggest. But we're going to see all the other major currencies tokenized and on Ledger. And remember, Ripple's been running pilots with CBDCs for 2-3 years now. It shouldn't be a surprise that they're releasing a stablecoin. Plenty of experience with the issuance, but CBDCs in major jurisdictions are theoretical. Stablecoins are here now, and they work. And this idea of having these use in decentralized finance used anonymously in DeFi protocols doesn't look like it's going to end anytime soon. So regulations are not a panacea. It's what I've been saying for so long. Even when we get to trading spot markets and regulating them, by the time they get around to doing that, most of the trading is going to be on decentralized exchanges. And then what do you do? So focusing on what's in front of us and on-chain that actually impacts you, that you can participate in, that affects your investment, that affects your opportunities, is what we should focus on. That's the reason why this channel is called the DeFi Standard, because DeFi is decentralized finance for everyone. And I saw it coming to the XRP Ledger and Flare. It was inevitable, even before they were saying it, because after summer 2020, it was well known that this is the next financial system. Some people still can't accept that in the XRP community, but we're getting there. It's crucial to understand that institutional DeFi does not sideline retail participants. Rather, it opens up new avenues for them. Retail owners of XRP stand to benefit significantly from the increased demand for XRP, not just as a bridge currency in ODL transactions, but as a valuable asset in its own right. And now it becomes more of a capital asset that is more attractive as an investment because it earns yield in its native protocols on chain, say it be the AMM or the lending protocol and other future amendments to come.
I think the big thing that's changed around tokenization is again, one reason to be very optimistic about where we are in the evolution of crypto, the largest financial managers, asset managers on the planet are talking about, whether it's BlackRock, I mean, certainly Blackstone, Franklin Templeton, Fidelity. I mean, these are, some of the largest asset managers on the planet are actively working on talking about. Larry Fink is, he thinks this is underhyped. This is going to fundamentally change how finance works, and it's going to democratize and give more people access, which is, it really has been the promise of crypto from the earliest days. So it's exciting to see kind of it come to fruition.
And the world in which I think we have the biggest success is the world where lots and lots of things get tokenized.
So this is why we should think of this in a different light. You might have came here because you thought you were going to get moon money and the price was going to the moon. The institutions are going to adopt. London's going to light it up. They're about to flip the switch. The institutions, Shane Ellis is coming. Yoshi said $10. The buybacks. The Riddlers. The 589ers. The reality is, you get to participate at the front of the line of the new financial system.